Hallo, agus fáilte go trí seaca den program ag BBC Alba a ha taispeach na boranig ingintach an na Salesforce na Halba. Is me sé Valentine agus mí toite ra go bhfuil a bhain Olympicach Lee McConnell ar Ashcallroom san studio. Ar program na heiche noch, le gaimechan a cho lathis becin víasan ar fallaf, bhír me hínas lí súil ar cuscan na scílach go móra go rucha seo go cheangal sé ríscap in na Halba. Han sé rui, Jenny Selman i ggéischuin muna planachin eiche ar son na chór gan bhléine as sé bánárig léag san rééis 8 méter ar as gearan. Agus han boxer hanna rankin i bhreunrin ar thoiseach ar an tapage fór eiche an a glasgow in Navius. Lee, welcome back to 360.
Oh, thank you for having me.
It's so nice to have you back. Can you actually just bring us up to date on what's been happening with you since last time you were here?
Yeah, for me, personal trainer on gyms, I've just been working on that and working with a lot of lovely clients, helping them get fit, and also obviously the Commonwealth Games, they're about to come up, the Olympic Games have been on, so I really enjoyed watching that. The curling was fascinating.
Well, tell us about that. Did you stay up late to watch even the gold medal match?
No, having 2 young children, that was just, that's a bit impossible, but it's a media blackout until I actually get it on the TV and got caught up with all the results. But it was, yeah, it was amazing, wasn't it? It was just so exciting the whole way through, you know, even from the sort of the round robin all the way through to the final was really good.
Did it inspire you to think about taking up curling?
No, I think it certainly inspired my children though, you know, to really show, because the commentary, the big thing that I found with the commentary, you know, they were talking about when the other team went ahead, I think that was in an earlier match, not the first one, but just them holding their own game plan, you know, and sticking to that, and that was throughout a lot of the matches, you know, when any team went ahead, it was a case of the team behind had to stick to their own game plan and have confidence that the other team will make mistakes. If you keep executing each stone, you can come back, and that happened, and I thought that was really good, you know, just showing like persevering, not changing your tactics, and really having belief in yourself, what can be achieved.
And did your kids love seeing and hearing that kind of unfold too?
Yeah, they did. They enjoyed it. They got quite into the curling and all the other sort of events as well. You know, they loved the sort of snowboard, and especially if there was big jumps and things like this, they were quite excited about all of that. So it was a really good games.
It's interesting what you can take from the game plan, because it's not just for curling. You can use that across all sports, and it is about, you'll know more than anyone about that perseverance and kind of sticking to what you know.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, my event 400 metres, the big thing is about executing your own race and not letting yourself get carried away with other people's race or get sucked into someone else's race plan. You've really got to execute your own race, so it is really important. And with my kids, I was talking about it because obviously they're into their sport and their football, and I was just you know, trying to explain to them, you know, it's about persevering, you know, and just keep trying. You know, it doesn't matter if you're behind, you still got to just keep trying, keep putting effort in, because you don't know the final outcome until, you know, well, whether it's at the end of a race or, you know, at the end of a match. You've got to just keep sticking in there and trying your best. Well,
that is a great piece of advice for all the athletes who are preparing just now for the Commonwealth Games, which is coming up. It starts on the 28th of July in Birmingham. How will athletes be feeling all around the world, but obviously let's focus on Scotland? How will they be feeling just now preparing for this huge event?
Yeah, depending on what event it is they're doing, you know, some of them will be trying to qualify to make the team. Some of them may have already qualified, and they'll just be working and following their plan, their training plan and their race plan or their competition plan to make sure they're at peak condition come the Commonwealth Games. With athletics, some of them have been pre-selected, but others are having to get their qualification, and there's not many spots up for grabs, so even if you get the time, you're not guaranteed to get a place. So it makes it difficult, because you're not just competing with someone in your own event, you're actually competing with people in other events, which can be then that's left up to the selectors. Who do they believe's got more chance of progressing through the rounds, ultimately to get a medal? And that's a really tough job, and it's really tough for the athletes to sit and wait for that.
How nerve-wracking is this time then, when you take all of that into account? Because you're thinking about all of that, but you're also thinking to kind of keep your body in the best condition. You can't let anything get in the way of that.
I think you've just got to have faith in the training you've put in leading up to the qualification period. And it's really easier said than done, but you can't really think about the qualification time. You know, you've got to just think about competing to the best you can, and then with that, the qualification time will come. So that's how we always approached it, you know, just each race at a time, and it's just about racing and getting the race, executing the race as well as I could, and then ultimately the times will come. So that's all you can do, because that's all that's in your control. You don't know what anyone else is going to do. You can only control what you're in charge of, you know, and just have faith and just get into the races or the meets, whatever it is you've got, and just execute your plan.
Is there anybody on your radar, anyone we should be looking out for who you really think will get that qualification and should do well?
I mean, there's lots within athletics. There's you know, we've got a really strong Scottish athletics contingent. So the obvious ones are Gemma Reekie and Laura Muir. You know, she's won Olympic medal, and then we look at Josh Kerr, another Olympic medalist. Jake Whiteman, he medalist from the last Commonwealth Games. So yeah, there's obviously a lot more in there, but there's quite a lot to be looking out for, I think, and obviously you've got across a wide range of sports, not just athletics.
And what about the prospect of having it in Birmingham? Can it be treated almost as a home games, even though it's not in Scotland, but it is very close to home?
Yeah, well, my first Commonwealth Games was Manchester, and yeah, even although it wasn't, you know, in Scotland, it did still feel like a home games to me, you know, because you're only travelling, what, 3 hours down in the train. You've got a lot of support from, you know, your family are able to travel to it, you know, your friends are there, and there's a mass of Scottish fans in the stadium, and the English, the Welsh that are all there as well, the Irish, they all get behind you. So even although it's not in your own country as such, all the sort of home nations do get behind those athletes, and it was really quite special, Manchester, for me.
Great, well, we will stick with it because we are about to hear from an athlete who might feature in Birmingham. Well, hoisich a bhliain go maith son Jenny Selman, agus le gamchan cho láthais inis fada ha gamas sin na chúmla dul agus áte chosnach an un skip na Halabe. Ha Jenny a bhí gíise barach muna ha fanjargi do trí seascad.
A siwy gyd horsig o gymach ac yn clybra yn y dalaithge. Horsig yn lwch leisig a alpanach Jenny Selman y tenig and the dún jay is on fiachain the urtus a giano.
I guess like when I was young, I kind of went along sort of twice a week to the local club, but it was all just quite relaxed and fun at that point, and that was for probably until like my mid-teens. I didn't really start taking it more seriously till it's probably in my late teens, sort of end of high school, start of university, and at that point I joined a training group through in Dundee. So I grew up in Fife. But yeah, I joined the training group in Dundee when I was maybe about 16, 17, and that's when I started to take it a bit more seriously. I trained with that group for quite a few years, like throughout my university time, and yeah, and then it's only really been in the last sort of year or so that I've actually made a bit more of a sort of a late step up.
Fa hiún gadit, gab Jenny Parsh ac efinach me ieddig ac ne gemichin DNA yn y glasachu. An y hyn bwynnig I da reish agas ac yn arpes ringi chwys cwtioch id yn persenta a share eichge.
It was a bit of a crazy day actually, so I wasn't supposed to be in the DNA match race. So Laura Muir was obviously supposed to be doing it, but she got injured and had to pull it last minute. So I ended up doing 2 800-metre races back to back, I think within about 70 minutes. So I did an invitation race, which was in the sort of DNA pre-programme. That's where I got a PB. And then I stepped in last minute for Laura in the match race. And I honestly don't know how I won that, because like I was still really tired from the first race, but I think the adrenaline just got me through, and like there was a massive crowd and the atmosphere was amazing, so I think that just kind of pulled me through. But yeah, it was a brilliant day, and I think that, like, over the last couple of years with lockdown, there's been sort of empty stadiums. You've sort of been competing in front of, like just empty stands, maybe like a couple of parents or coaches. So it was really nice to kind of have a full stadium and have like, you know, a really like sort of loud, like buzzing atmosphere. It was great.
A Jenny is a dói a bhí a se farpers agus is seoí dáblína a bhaca má dadamh nó a bhaid a gástachuch ha a cúd dúlain úr a roichpe.
The last sort of year or so, particularly like this indoor season, has been like a bit of a breakthrough for me. It's a bit strange because obviously I'm quite like old to be making a bit of a breakthrough, but it's just really nice to be kind of at the stage again where I'm running PBs, or I feel like I can try and like target making teams. Like for a long time I was just kind of in a bit of a rut, really, like kind of going through a bit of an injury cycle. I would get injured, get back fit, then get injured again, then get back fit. And, you know, once you've kind of done that for quite a long time, you just end up just being quite unfit. And I probably, like, I still always turned up to training. I did all my runs, but I didn't really know what I was doing, what I was aiming for. I didn't really have any like sort of particularly ambitious targets. So it's just nice to be kind of back at a stage where I feel like I'm, you know, there's like things that I can aim for, like, you know, a sub 2:800 or trying to make a team. It's been really fun kind of getting back to this stage.
Ha Jenny and Doch is barach chláiníon a bhrosnach an spórs í a hain, agus I tuig sin cho cútramach sa hae, an a bhí a cúma lúch leis I chinóca an sas and spórs.
Yeah, like definitely so important. I think it's like one of the sort of biggest problems in girl sport generally. You know, they kind of get to the end of high school and, you know, for a number of reasons, a lot of girls drop out. And I think, to be honest, I think one of the sort of main things to stop them from dropping out is keeping it fun. Like, I think a lot of people take it quite seriously when they're young, and then maybe they kind of lose the fun factor. I think actually if you can keep girls enjoying it and keep it sociable, then actually that's like one of the biggest ways you can keep them in the sport for longer. And then obviously there's so many benefits to staying in the sport, not just, you know, not just the sport itself, it's all the things that come with it, you know, like the friendships you build and the healthy habits that you build for life, you know. So I think actually if you can keep more girls in the sport, they're not necessarily all going to grow up to be Olympic champion or whatever, but if you can keep them in the sport for longer, then actually it's so beneficial just for their life generally.
If ein hadis ithna jeffer dúlain, ha ada Jenny an nistid amas an ura, agus chanil na gemich na cholairs an the Birmingham, and mach as a jelach hast.
I'm glad I didn't give up. I think that there were times that were pretty miserable. Like it wasn't off. Like I enjoy running, like just fundamentally enjoy running, but like there were lots of times where it was very miserable. But I think that like actually if you do enjoy running, like stick at it, find yourself a group that you enjoy training with or a different setup that suits you, and like I would say that just stick at it and things will probably get better and you'll start to enjoy it again. And when you do it, I would love to go to the Commonwealth Games this summer. I've got the qualifying time, but the way that the team selected means that just having the qualifying time itself doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get picked. There might be more. The Scotland team has a set number of places, and there will probably be more people who get the qualifying time than there are spaces. So this summer I'd quite like to just try and run the qualifying time a couple more times just to kind of strengthen, I guess, my chances of being selected. So I would love to do that. I've kind of also got an eye on the Europeans time, which is just a little bit faster than my PB. But we'll just see how it goes. Training's going well out here. Hopefully I'll just kind of keep progressing and then see what happens.
Lee, so much to actually talk about from there, but she's someone that's been on your radar recently. Yeah,
she says herself the last year, you know, she's a real breakthrough. She's really brought her time down to be competitive with the top British females in the 800 metres. So she's made a real step up in the last year.
Well, even tell us her times, because there's, you did mention actually when we were watching that, kind of what she's dropped down to, and actually now people are looking at her
yeah,
and seeing to do well.
Yeah, she was running about 2.6, 2.7s, but now that's her drop down to 2.1 and just under. I think she's ran 2 minutes 0.07, and I think she's just needing 3/10 to come off of that to be selected or to make the qualification for the European Championships. So she's made huge improvements. That is a big chunk of time that she's really cut down. She's under that 2:01, and yeah, she says herself, now the aim is to get under 2 minutes, and going on her indoor season, yeah, if she's managed to put in a good nice training block between then and her next few races that'll be coming up, I'm sure, very soon, yeah, she definitely looks like she'll be in the shape to hit that, go under 2 minutes.
It's quite amazing to hear, because she's not in her early 20s. How impressive is it to see her do that just now?
Yeah, I think, like she said, she's had some injury issues, and that's meant, she's probably a couple of years behind where she would have been. So she's coming into really good form, just slightly later than most. Most is coming in mid sort of 20s to late 20s, but she's 31 now, and she's hitting her peak. Well, she might not have even hit her peak. We've probably still got a few years to go. But she's coming into really good form, and she's starting to make the teams. Team selection. She made the indoor championships this year, and she's now looking at the Commonwealth Games, European Championships. So hopefully we'll see her on the track at those.
Absolutely. Does it just show as well that when you even get to your early 30s, you don't have to retire anymore? If you keep your body in good condition, you can go on.
Yeah, there's plenty of examples. I think when people got to their late 20s, you were getting retired, and don't get me wrong, I think the media retired athletes sometimes more than themselves.
We won't do that here.
No. but now there's plenty of examples out there, athletes who are able to go into their career for longer. Roger Federer, that's the main one that springs to mind. He's really extended his career, but there's lots of reasons for that. There's a lot of more information out there on how to train a bit smarter as you get older, and now there's examples there. People are following the footsteps. And it shows you your career doesn't have to end when you hit 30. Your career is now, athletes are now taking their career on, into their 40s now, and it's really good. It's really good to see.
And it's clear that it's worked for Jenny, because it's actually great seeing how well she's doing and how she's just kind of sprung almost out of nowhere, and here she is on her way, hopefully, to make a Commonwealth Games. What does she need to do now? She mentioned about kind of retaining these times. How important is that not to lose track of that?
Yeah, she just needs to keep doing what she's been doing. It's obviously working. She needs to stay focused. She needs to get in some good races and try and push that time, try and get her time down a little bit more. So she'll want to get in some races where there's a pacemaker that suits her, and try and get her time down and try and get into some more competitive races. So maybe she could get a couple of Diamond League spots. That would probably be ideal for her, where she'll be really competitive, and that's where the races where you're going to get your quick times. But yeah, she just needs to keep doing what she's doing. It's clearly working. She's getting faster, and that's all. That is what she'll want to keep doing through the summer.
It's so great to see. And also, talk about seizing the moment with the DNA Games, with Laura Muir kind of dropping out to injury. She stepped in and actually had a great time in Glasgow. Yeah, so initially she was supposed to be doing a pace race, because they were trying to help her get qualification for the indoors, which she did. So they had a pacemaker, so she had a race set up for her to get a time, and then all of a sudden I think they approached her, I don't know if it was the day before or the day of, that they needed her to do the match race, but because she had a pace race, that was really important, because she needed the time, and that was the really important thing. So she still did that race, got her qualification, but then was able to come back quite quickly, not having much recovery time, and actually then win the DNA match race. So it was incredible, and I think that's probably where everyone sat up and took notice. She's able to put 2 good times in back to back off short recovery. It's clear that she was going to be competitive for this season. And it's quite nice here, because it's not just it's not just kind of winning, getting the qualification that she focuses on. She also talks about, which we even spoke about earlier, kind of inspiring that next generation coming through. And you know that that's really important to her too, and retaining girls in athletics and running.
Yeah, I really agreed with what Jenny was saying, and she was talking about keeping it fun. And for me, there was never really a point where I would think about going training, because when I was going training, I was going to train with a really good group of people that were my friends, and I wanted to go and see them, you know. So I had this social aspect throughout my whole career, you know, where I was quite happy to go training because I was going to have some nice company, I was going to get a wee chat, but I knew I was there to work. But when you've got a nice environment to go to, you know, that it does keep you going. I think that is key to keeping girls in sports and women in sport. Making it social, you know, if you make it fun to go, you don't actually think about what you're going to be doing once you get there, yeah. You know, because you've got a nice social aspect to it, and then you work hard and you push each other on. So a training group like that is a really good environment, and it definitely keeps people in, you know, in their careers and persevering, like she has certainly done. You know, she's persevered through injuries, but because she's enjoyed it, which is great to see.
Totally, and that is what it's all about. And like you say, now she's reaping the benefits. Well, thank you so much. Wel, ha tor archig son a boxer Albannach Hannah Rankin vo brunsin ria migérig trí siasket. En is ha da hitel eichke agus fi chi rein Jean ek an hydro an a Glasgow in avies. Jo aum son a neach gesure einwuipe.
She ook mees een diek trangeheer wiaan, behoorlijk zien voor Hannah Rankin trí siasket. Han boxer en is da titel na crinne choshin in class super welterweight.
It's been crazy actually the last 18 months. You know, I fought up at middleweight again on the against Savannah Marshall for the fight there. And then I dropped back down to welterweight, and I was out in South Africa fighting at welterweight, so I dropped down 2 weight classes, and I was going to stay at welterweight. And then I met Dennis Thompson and the team, and they said to me, oh, we think we've got an opportunity for you to fight for the WBA 154, so that's super welterweight. And I thought, you know what, that's a fantastic weight class, and I'm very happy. It was a great opportunity, so I took it, and I fought at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium in November last year, became world champion with the WBA and IBO again. So yeah, it's been a crazy time, but I've been working really hard, and all of that's starting to pay off.
Ounce Hagin, a shy larach Uralorak, the lean ear this more thicketchen. Jenny Hannah na titel in Crinne Eiche, a bielov in Loch Length in Eiche Hain, ek in hydro and a Glasgow.
Yeah, it was a surprise. To be honest, I was absolutely buzzing about fighting at the Braehead Arena, because, you know, obviously some great fighters, Josh Taylor, Ricky Burns, they've all fought there before, so I was thinking it'd be great to be there. And then we needed more tickets, so my team came to me and said, okay, Hannah, don't be too upset, it's going to be moved back 2 more weeks. And I was like, oh no, what's happened? And then they're like, no, but we're going to be fighting at the Hydro. And I was just like, this is amazing, because like it's a dream come true. And literally 2 weeks prior to that, I was doing the commentary with Sky Sports for the Josh Taylor fight inside the Hydro, and I said it would be amazing to box here. The atmosphere is incredible. And lo and behold, a couple of weeks later, here I am. I'm going to be fighting at the Hydro. Such a prestigious venue for Scotland. Everybody knows about it. And you know, it's just so incredible. Like, we went inside after the press conference when it was announced, and I got goosebumps. You know, I was looking around the venue and I was thinking, this is where I'm going to be headlining. And it's a little bit of history for Scotland, because we have never had a female headline there. So very proud to be representing the ladies at the top of the bill. So yeah, really excited. Do you know what? For me, all I've been thinking about is my arm getting raised and hearing "and still." You know, "and still" is the most important thing to me. I'm really excited about putting on a show for everybody and to defend my titles at home in front of a home crowd. It always gives you that little extra buzz. You know, Scottish fans are the best fans in the world, and I know I'm totally biased saying it, but they really are, and they're all going to turn up and make some noise. So yeah, it's going to be a fantastic experience.
Har rankin yn ochus gyn cwydych yn sapach y stri cyn eichge yn doris asglwg do boranich is clinian yn analaba gwys boxig iachyn.
You know, it's so important for me. I think that's something that as a female fighter, I want to be remembered for, like, you know, hopefully opening the way up there for the younger girls coming through. I want to see that they've got this opportunity. Like, one of the my important hashtags that I use is see her, be her. And it's so important for young girls looking up to me to think, actually, one day that could be me. And I could be up there headlining at the Hydro in Scotland at home. So it's really important. And I know there's a lot of little eyes on me on fight night. There's lots of young girls coming to see me box. So yeah, it's a very big part of what I do. And hopefully going to inspire some more girls into the sport and see that they can do what I'm doing now.
Ha hana chin cho fate out an unja cho garage. I is aji hi hain guvele urnen darf unja lorag gus kundes a horse in a cholani.
Yes, actually, myself and my coach were thinking about it the other day, and it's crazy to think where we've come from. You know, I started right at the bottom, just doing it for fitness, and then some white collar fights. Now 16 professional fights later, I'm a double world champion. I'm representing women's boxing at the Hydro in Glasgow, and it's just incredible. You know, it's kind of like, when you think about it, it's just a real sort of bit of a Cinderella story, but I'm very happy, and it just shows that hard work and a great team around you can really, you know, put you where you want to be, and you can follow your dreams.
In Draste gaan Jel Hanna a Kate Shacket Jen and Tichtelaike. Ach, ma heidje hula kaal maar a hand doel, han taumri chak a Kate glee huller as an boxer a las.
So obviously when my hand is raised May 13th, you know, there's lots of exciting fights in the super welterweight division. It seems to be the division where everything is just really hotting up at the moment. You know, you've got Natasha Jonas, who's just joined the division with the WBO. That's definitely a unification fight that I would like. You've got Marie-Eve Duquesne. She's now going to be boxing against Cecilia Brackhouse. So that's an exciting fight as well. So there's lots of avenues and routes that we can go down. But yeah, there's lots of fun things to be looked at. But I'll leave that up to my team, and I'm just going to focus on May the 13th. I am super excited about May the 13th. And if you haven't got a ticket, please get your ticket off Ticketmaster. Come and join us. It's going to be an epic night of Scottish boxing. There's a full undercard of Scottish fighters. So it's going to be super exciting. So yeah, come along. And if you can't come along, tune into Fight Zone, because it's going to be there live on Fight Zone for everyone to watch.
Lee, you can tell that Hannah has got a lot on doing the interview in the car. She's a very busy woman just now, but so cool to hear.
Yeah, it's fantastic. A female boxer headline in the Hydro. Yeah, it's incredible. It's a real step forward, isn't it? You know, to know that there's now the number of fans watching women's boxing to warrant such a big, you know, quite an iconic venue it's becoming, isn't it, for boxing? So no, it's fantastic.
And
really
even how it came about, how she just a couple of weeks beforehand had been commentating on Josh Taylor's fight and saying on air, I would love to box here, and now it's happening. It's all down to her. It is down to her hard work. It's really incredible to hear, isn't it?
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, obviously she, you know, she became world champion and lost the belt, but then she's dropped down a weight, you know, so she'll have had to work hard to get down to that lighter weight, you know, to then become competitive again and to win the titles, and now she's fighting to defend them. I mean, it's fantastic. It is a real, you know, when she was watching it, it's quite funny because I was watching it in my head, I was thinking, oh, it's a Cinderella story, and then she actually said that. I thought, oh, you know, it was like, that is exactly what the words were in my head for it. You know, it's a fantastic story, and it's she's a real role model, you know, for the sport.
She is, and she spoke about that too. It's actually a theme that's kind of been going through the programme today, on being able to see her, to be her. She actually said that is what she says, how she encourages more girls. And you spoke about it with your kids, and Jenny spoke about it too. it's hugely important and such a good value.
Yeah, I think when you start out young and you're watching sport, you know, for me, watching the Olympics on the TV, and I was like, wow, and I was quite in awe of these people, you know, and you just see them on the TV and you think, well, they're just a million miles away from you. And then I watched the Olympic Games Sydney, and I watched two British girls, Kath Mary winning a bronze medal and Donna Fraser coming fourth. And then it starts thinking, I could start to relate to these people, because these are females, you know, that I've seen around the track before. So I think having someone that you can relate to, you know, someone that's been brought up in a similar environment to you, you know, been brought up in Scotland, and watching them succeed, I think that does inspire, you know, the younger generation, because they're not so different from you, you know. Whereas I think when you're watching someone on TV from a different country, they just feel a little bit superhuman. But when you've got someone there, you know, that you can really watch, and I think part of that is, you know, to do with what's happening with Scottish athletics and how good some of the athletes have become, because they've fed off each other. You know, you see someone doing it who's a similar background to you. It gives you belief in yourself watching someone else achieve, and you know, and she's certainly doing that.
And there's a real path to follow, like you were saying. You can see there's a real structure to succeed. This is what you have to do to get there, which must be so beneficial. But also for these young girls and for these fans, they can go to the Hydro and watch Hannah. They can also watch it take place online at home. It's even the magnitude of having everyone at the Hydro. How big is that?
Yeah, it's huge. Yeah, I think actually seeing it in person is one thing, watching it on TV is another, but both are a fantastic way, you know, to view the sport. And to see a sort of Scottish female, you know, headline and, you know, be the best in the world is a fantastic thing for everyone to see. And it doesn't matter what age they are, you know, because boxing's a really good way of keeping fit, you know, so it's not just about getting to that level. You know, you can use it in order to enhance your fitness levels, which is what, you know, what she touched on. You know, she's wanting to try and get as many people involved as possible, and I don't think it really, you know, has to be someone young. It can be of any age. You know, boxing can be used for different things, for different people to get different things out of it.
It can, and it's such a fun sport, even just to take part in if you are just starting out. But Jenny kind of mentioned it too, having people back in stadiums. Hannah, she's going to have people in the Hydro. How important is that as an athlete, especially over the past couple of years when you haven't really been able to go to events? Now that you can, how much more meaningful is it now?
Yeah, I think having a full stadium is amazing, especially if it's a home one, you know, which that's going to be incredible, because most of the people in that stadium are supporting you. You know, to know that you've got that support, that just encourages you, you know, that gives you motivation, it drives you to, you know, to compete and be better, to be stronger. So it'll be fantastic atmosphere for her to really soak up and to try and use that environment, use the energy from the crowd to help her performance is what she's going to want to do. But again, we spoke about this earlier, you know, sticking to her game plan, you know, she'll know what she wants to do, she'll know how to execute that match, and that's what she'll be wanting to do, but she'll just be using that extra adrenaline, that extra motivation from the crowd, I think, to help her achieve it.
And that's the thing with boxing too, it's just part of the sport. You have to be very confident to do it too. When you do win a title, to defend it. Can you imagine having to defend your title?
Yeah, definitely. The pressure, once you succeed, it's definitely more pressure, and I think people always say it's harder to stay at the top than it is to actually get there. So yeah, she'll be up against it, but she'll have the environment to help her.
What would you say to Hannah building up to this huge occasion, and also to Jenny too, she'll be building up to hopefully that qualification for the Commonwealth Games?
Yeah, have belief in the team around you, know that you've done the training, and then that training and the team around you have belief in yourself that, you know, that you can go out there and perform to your best.
And stick to the game plan.
Yep, stick to the game plan.
Brilliant. Well, Lee, thank you so much for joining us again this week. It was great to have you back.
Thank you for having me. It's always nice to be here.
We will see you soon. Well, Sinead son and noch gan a chiachgain bí ar dofgar balcosna ban Eileen Campbell call rooms in studio. Jen Keenshach gyfel sif Lenton BBC Alba ar YouTube sin far yn faisif a hula program is achlaf buntin ri tri siasgyd. Hishin sif yn a chiachgain.